Hello all, and welcome to the Panorama Consulting Group ERP Vendor Spotlight. Thanks for joining us. Today we're highlighting Microsoft in the D365 Finance and Operations application. My name is Chris DeVault. I am Director of Industry Relations and Manager within Software Selection at Panorama Consulting. We also have Chris Moore and Michelle Mannino with us today from Mannino Partners. They'll be introducing themselves in a moment. We have a nice offer of a free hour of consulting to the first few respondents after today's webinar, so please take advantage of that through our website. Today we're going to look into some recent trends from both the Panorama side and the Microsoft side, what we're seeing within the last year and a half in the manufacturing industry. We'll also have a brief overview of the D365 F&O application itself. A little bit about Panorama before we get going. On the left-hand side is Panorama's lines of service, full management consulting offerings. In the middle, you can see the industries we focus on. And on the right-hand side, you see a little bit about our people. Smart, motivated, and experienced people, as always. This is a quick snapshot of some of our client base. We have a global reach, serving many different industries, and we have clients ranging from zero revenue startup mode all the way up to $20 billion plus enterprises. Our projects include numerous ERP vendors from tier 1 providers, tier 2 providers. We also work with niche applications for CRM, supply chain management, and workforce management. Today's intent is to provide some exposure to what we're seeing in the industry, and then also give you some discovery information around Mannino and Microsoft. So we'll quickly highlight some of the trends that Panorama has experienced with our client base. Starting with digital supply chains, manufacturing organizations are securing portals and blockchain for forecasting, collaboration, and procurement. AI, along with Internet of Things, are seeing more practical use in combination with workflow automation and BI tools within ERP systems. The customer experience is a large focus by many of our clients and vendors we work with. We're seeing B2B, 2C, and a lot of e-commerce channels also as higher priority initiatives. And then we see organizations willing to streamline processes and adopt best practices where appropriate. They're reducing risk, reducing cost, and reducing the duration of ERP implementations. Change management is also a critical aspect to their success. So now I'm going to turn it over to Chris and Michelle from the Mannino team.
All right, great. Hey, Chris, first off, I want to thank you and Panorama for giving us the opportunity to talk about the Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O story. It's a really exciting time for Microsoft, hitting its stride with the new product release. The cloud platform came out about 2.5 years ago, and the adoption rate has been huge. So once again, my name is Chris Moore. I'm a partner with Mannino. I've been working with the Microsoft platform here for 17 years. Prior to that, I was with Anderson Consulting, Accenture. So I have a lot of experience in implementing and helping companies create digital transformation within their organization. So looking forward to telling you more about the platform today. And with me, I've got Michelle Mannino. Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Michelle Mannino. I manage the pre-sales group over at Mannino for the Dynamics 365 practice. I specialize in supply chain and manufacturing, and I've been doing this for many, many years. So I'm very excited to show you a little bit about what Dynamics looks like for manufacturing companies.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Oops. Yeah, so just a few brief slides on Mannino. So Mannino is a national accounting firm, and as a traditional accounting firm, we have an audit practice, a tax practice, and a consulting organization. On our audit side, there's a wide breadth of capabilities that team has, not just auditing, but around things like lease accounting and revenue recognition. Similarly on the tax side, we work with large organizations to help really develop and implement international tax strategies, transfer pricing, and tax provisioning. On the consulting side, we're broken out into a couple different groups. We have our mid-market team, which focuses on, a product called Intact, and it helps companies, smaller organizations, implement new technologies to support their business. I run our enterprise practice. We work primarily in the mid-market and upper mid-market, and we help companies create digital transformation leveraging the Microsoft platform. In addition to that, we're also a partner of Adaptive Insights for FP&A, so for budgeting and planning. So at Microsoft, Mannino, being a partner for 17 years, has a number of accolades that we've experienced, and I just want to walk through a few of those. This year, we were out of 2,600 partners, we were 2019 Worldwide Partner of the Year for Dynamics 365 F&O, runner-up, which is something that we're real proud of. We've been Inner Circle for the last 7 years, which is the top 1% of all Dynamics 365 F&O partners, and in the world, there's only 10 of us. I personally serve on the Microsoft Partner Advisory Committee, so on a quarterly basis, we have the opportunity to meet with the product managers within Microsoft and really understand their roadmap and provide feedback. This past year, we were fortunate enough to sell some of the IP that our R&D team developed around revenue recognition. It's an industry solution that Mannino first developed back in 2005 for a couple of our customers, and recently was procured by Microsoft and is now in the product. The other cool thing is that we implemented Dynamics 365 F&O for the Microsoft Azure Business Unit. I'll talk more about that. I have a short case study as we go through the presentation. And then finally, this past year, and just a few days ago, when we were at the Worldwide Partner Conference, which is called Inspire, based on our performance this year's total number of customer adds and sales, we were awarded one of 6 partners that received the Eagle Award from the OCP group at Microsoft. All right, and then finally about Mannino, we're real proud of our Mannino Foundation. I think it really demonstrates and talks to the culture and the people at Mannino. All right, as I mentioned before, there's a number of IP capabilities that we've implemented on the platform. I'm not going to go into this in detail, but these are all certified applications that sit up in Microsoft's App Store. So why Microsoft? Microsoft has spent a lot of effort, a lot of money in developing out the platform. So the most important thing is the scalability of the application. And as I go through this, we'll talk more about large organizations that are leveraging the platform and 365. The next aspect that I think is important that companies ask is security and compliance. Microsoft has a dedicated team, to support capabilities required for like FDA compliance, HIPAA, and other types of compliance related issues. The next one that I think is really important is the One Microsoft. The cool thing about the One Microsoft is that you'll never have to go through a big upgrade project a year. Being a cloud solution, you're going to take advantage of all the platform and all the application updates from Microsoft, either on a monthly or quarterly basis. There's a lot of flexibility on how you accept those, but the key message here is that you're taking advantage of not just Dynamics 365 F&O, but really the whole platform of additional capabilities and functionality that's been deployed. And then finally, long-term viability. As everyone knows, Microsoft, one of the largest organizations in the world, spending 10 billion plus in R&D to continue to improve the platform. It goes without saying that there's a ton of data centers out there. There's 100 plus data centers, and Microsoft continues to invest heavily in developing new data centers each year. So I'm going to talk for a few seconds here on digital transformation. So the way, this is kind of the key kind of takeaway from today's session. And I want you to really think about as your organization develops out your future roadmap. The one thing that Microsoft is really focused on is providing capabilities to everybody, so always connected. Data from everything. So Microsoft's Azure Data Lake, which has this architecture which exposes all of the data from the entire platform to the Azure Data Lake, gives you the capability and exposes that data to everybody. And that's a really important message. And then, of course, intelligence everywhere. Without artificial intelligence, without the business intelligence and the analytics that go along with that, and really having the capability to drill down to data, then the application is useless. So engaging customers, collaborating with customers, giving employees empowerment to visualize and have access to data, and then finally to really optimize the overall operations. So let's get into the product here for a second. So Microsoft Dynamics 365 has a series of capabilities that have been deployed. I'm going to start with the Dynamics 365 CE for sales, which is really the capability for all the traditional Salesforce automation, contact management, quotes, fully integrated back to F&O, the ability to initiate incidents, integration with prices and parts, back to the ERP. So sales and customer service kind of fit there. Field service is not only integrated back to F&O, but there's a lot of large organizations that use the field service really to support requirements that they have as they service their customers and provide support for them. Project service automation is capability within the CE platform for companies that have professional services. So I may have someone out in the field, I may be recording time against a project, but that's professional services automation. Finally, today we're going to talk about finance and operations. Finance and operations is really the backbone of the manufacturing capabilities that Michelle's going to show here in a second. Last but not least, talent is a standalone capability, but also highly integrated back into F&O to really support end-to-end hire to retire capabilities and employee performance management. So what makes all of this powerful is all of the pieces that Microsoft's developed that fit around Dynamics 365 F&O. Integration with Office 365. The extremely powerful Power Apps, which includes the AI platform as well. Microsoft Flow for all of the event-driven capabilities. The Common Data Service, which is what I was referring to earlier, which really supports the Azure Data Lakes and how data is really distributed across the organization. Finally, Azure IoT, Power BI, and artificial intelligence are all really important parts. On the IoT side, it's all about connected field service, monitoring machines out in the field so that I can, in a predictive manner, manage my customers or my product that my customer owns. And then AppSource finally gives you the capability to really a lot of solutions out there that have been implemented by partners. All right, so from a manufacturing perspective, Dynamics 365 really focuses around discrete and process manufacturing. On the discrete side, it could be medical device, high tech, automotive, capital equipment manufacturing. And then on the process side, chemicals, life sciences, metals, just an example of some of the capabilities, but really a full-blown application. Here are some of the capabilities, and this is a little bit of an eye chart, but really drops down into the functionality of Dynamics 365 F&O. Once again, on the manufacturing side, you can see in the bottom right corner, repetitive, lean, process, discrete, the ability to do complex product configurations, kitting. And Michelle's going to go through a little bit of more around the manufacturing side of the application. Once again, full-blown manufacturing capabilities to support large organizations. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, and she is going to demonstrate some of the capabilities.
What you are looking at is Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations, which was formerly called Dynamics AX or AX 2012, and before it was AX 2009. So it's the same guts of the product, and Dynamics 365 got a new look and feel. But a lot of functionality is exactly the same and then been improved. We also went to a browser base, so now it can work in Chrome or Edge or any type of different browsers. So it gives you a lot more flexibility in what you want to use. What you're looking at is my dashboard. I am logged in as a super user, so I have access to a lot of functionality. So normal users would not see quite this much information. Each of these white boxes represents a workspace. So for every type of role or someone, you'd have your different workspaces. So if I want to go look at down here, I'm going to look at a couple of them here. If we want to look at the cost analysis workspace, and that's giving me some information about what's going on in my business. And you'll see we've got some embedded analytics in here. So if I want to do analysis, I want to look at all this information. I might have this inventory turns I'm tracking. I want to see some low turnover, some KPIs. I see my inventory values. And then I've got other links over here where I can get into standard cost variance analysis. And what you're seeing come up is embedded Power BI. So you might be familiar with Power BI. It's a very popular product for doing analytics and ad hoc reporting. And what Microsoft did is took the Power BI and used that as the reporting tool. So we do have traditional reports that run, and you can run them to the screen and you can look at them. But we're finding more users like this. Give me some dashboards, give me some analytics, let me drill down into it. So with these, you can look at numbers, you can drill down, you can see information. So you can go really understand your business and be alerted when there's exceptions versus running a report and scanning it for the exceptions yourself. So nice tool in here. So that's one example. I'm showing you a cost analysis. They're actually in several different places. There's actually a production performance analysis. Same thing, you're seeing the embedded Power BI come up. And then that too has some analytics tied to it with around production reporting. So here you can see my tabs at the bottom. There's defects by product, defects by resources, production variances by job orders. And so this data just slowly will come up as quick as we can get it. So it takes it a few minutes to come up on my demo environment. So let's go back. So now I showed you a couple analytical type dashboards, but there are other kinds. So let's go look at a purchase order preparation dashboard workspace. And now you're seeing something a little different. You're seeing some tiles. So I want to see the 30 purchase orders that without a confirmed delivery date. And I can just click on that, and then I'll see all those purchase orders come up here on my screen. And then I can look at them, I can drill down into them. You'll also notice I'm looking at this, we took the concept of Microsoft Office and used the ribbons across the top. So again, based on your security, you may not have all the tabs that I have, but here I can look at this list of purchase orders and I can see the discounts, I can look at the prepayments, I can manage it, I can go receive against it, I can see the invoices, again, if I had security. So you really take advantage of the Office look and feel, which helps with user acceptance. So on a workspace, you have the tiles here, and you can set these, and there's another trick that you can create your own tiles. You're not left with the ones Microsoft assigns. You have these list pages, so I can see my purchase orders are in draft mode. I can see them in review. I can see them that are assigned to me. So I get just kind of a quick look of how things are. And then over here, I might have some links to just some key areas that I tend to go to. So let's open up my all vendors. And again, you'll see the same concept, the ribbon across the top. I can see different things about that vendor. But what I want to show you here, you've got some related information that's hidden, but I can open that up and I can see their recent activity, their roles, the relationship. And as I scroll through the different vendors, that data will change. So I can just get a quick look of what that looks like. So we'll close that back up. So let's say this list page has some information, but maybe it doesn't have all the fields you're looking for. I can go in and actually open up the vendor and look at the data on that vendor. And I've got some just general information about that vendor. And these are all called tabs, these tab spaces that we can look at. But maybe I want some of that information on that list page instead. Close this. So in here, whoops, I clicked too much. Let's go over here and say, well, I want to add another column over here. And so I want to I want to personalize this. And again, if I had security, I might say, I want to personalize this. I want to add a field. And I might want to add maybe the buyer. So I want to add that buyer now to that table, to that list page, and then I just need to refresh it. And then I will have the buyer listed now on that list page. So it's that easy to personalize and make it really work for you. And like Excel, I can move those columns around just like we do in Excel and drag and drop them. So now I can see here that that buyer will be added. I also could go in there we go, add the field. Okay, and we could also, this is create a new field. So I could come in here and say, I need a special field on the vendor table, and I'm going to call it my data. And we can tell it what kind of data it is. So let me make it just a text box, and I'm going to call it my data. And now I'm actually adding a new field to that system. And see, it's modifying the table and adding a custom field. So these things are on the edge. I wouldn't let standard users add fields to my data, but it's a nice way to make this personalized for your organization and for things that you need. Okay. And then here you can see, here we go. All right, let's continue on. So that was just some ways to personalize it. We also, because it's Microsoft, we do integrate with Microsoft Office, and a lot of ERP vendors do. But what we do is a little differently. We can export it to Excel and you can go manipulate it all you want. But what we do is we interact with Excel. So Excel becomes the front end UI for Dynamics. So as it opens up, it's going to check my security. It's going to make sure I have those permissions, so I can't just go in there and pull up payroll records and do that kind of information. So now it's going through. You can see over here, there's a little plugin that's going out and saying it's looking at my registrations, it's looking at my security, it's making sure it's pulling in the data, and then I can see that data here. And then, so I can come in here and interact with this. So if I want to come in here and say, put that vendor on hold, or change the vendor group, I can come in and do that and see which vendor this is. So this is, let's get data receivers, which is US 105. I come over here and let's say I want to make the group and I want to change it, but let's worry about data validations. Let's say I want to make it orange. Okay, orange is not a valid value for me. So when I go try to publish it, it'll tell me that I can't, and it actually highlights what's wrong with that data. So then I can come in here and see that message. I can see what's wrong with it, see what needs to fix. So if I just change it now from 10 to 30 and then publish it, it will tell me that that was published successfully. And my US 105, so then I can scroll down here. I'm going to go over here now and filter this. Begins with US-105, so another way to look up data. And I can see that that vendor group was changed to 30. So it works in real time with your data and sends it back. So that's a couple cool features of just personalizing to make it work for you. Let's move on to master planning. We have a concept in the traditional world. You used to do master scheduling, then you run rough cut, then you run MRP, and then if you're really good, you run detailed capacity scheduling. Well, what Dynamics does is kind of mash it all up and we run it together. So here's some, again, I'm in another kind of workspace. I've got some planned orders, calculated days. I can see my urgent planned messages, what's delaying sales, what's delaying forecast. But what's neat over here is this plan. We create a master plan. You can have as many plans as you want. So you could be running a short-term plan, a long-term plan, a what-if plan. And then you tell it what kind of criteria you want to look into it. So do I want to include my on-hand? What do I want to do, detailed or rough cut, which is what this means? Do I do finite capacity or not? And I set, do I want to include requests for quotes? Which forecast do I want to use against it? So we can multiple forecast. And then I come in here and say, what time fence? Am I run it for 2 weeks? Am I run it for a month? Am I run it for a year? And that's how I can run all of this simultaneously and look at forecast, sales orders, on-hand balances, capacity, all my bill of material to come up with a plan. And then once it runs, I can come over and look at my planned orders and actually understand where those came from. So these planned orders, I can see, oh, I've got these planned orders out here. We've got a planned Kanban. I could have a planned transfers, a planned purchases that all come out of that. So we do work in mixed mode. And if I didn't understand why do we need to do this planned production order, I can go to this multi-level pegging and see, oh, it's coming from a sales order. And then I can turn it around and say, well, how do I need to make it? And I can see this is all the parts I need to make and what's made up of trying to get that accomplished to meet that sales order. So pretty cool that we can run this all together with different flags and get our different outcomes that we want. Lastly, I'm going to take you into the production floor management. We're focused on manufacturing. Again, another workspace, again with some tiles. All these are a little different. You can also personalize these to make these work for you and your organization. But here I'm seeing some jobs and the statuses of them. I can see what's going on. I can see the jobs complete, my team. I've got some links over here to subcontracting and some picking reports and things. But if I want to come in here and see what orders can I release, what are ready to go, and I can see, let me scale this down a bit so you see a little better. So here, this one's ready to go. I got a checkbox, so that's good. But this one, I have an exception on. If I don't understand, I can click on it and it show me what my critical inventory is. So I've got a problem with one of these items that I don't have enough, so I can't release it. If I want to know what I could release, I can say, how many can I make out of these 10? What can I possibly get done? And this is where I would see that max report is finished. We also have Gantt charts, so I can come in here and look at that Gantt chart for that production order. Come back up here. And you take those check boxes off. That's why I didn't like it. And then I go with the Gantt chart and actually see what we've got scheduled by resource. And these all can be color coded. They all have different things that you can set up so that these views are specialized. You have different time frames. The colors mean different things. So some nice ways to actually see your schedule. So we kind of did a quick tour of Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. We focused in a little bit on the usability with the exporting to Excel and interacting with through Excel. We talked about personalizing, adding different fields. I mentioned that these workspaces can be set up specific to you and the data that you want to get to and access. We talked about master scheduling and how it's incorporating MRP, CRP, all together all at once, and having multiple forecast plans and multiple schedules. And then you've got the production floor with mixed mode where we can do batch, process, batch, discrete, and lean all at the same time in one environment, as well as look at what's going on with our data in our production floor. So there's a lot in there, a lot I left out. So I hope that I got you interested and you'll contact us to learn more. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Chris.
All right, great, Michelle. That was awesome. Thank you. I wanted to close with just a couple of case studies regarding the Dynamics 365 F&O platform. I wanted to show you some of the mid-market, the upper mid-market, and larger organizations. So there are some good-sized companies from Microsoft perspective leveraging the entire Microsoft platform. Dell Computers, for example, is using the features that Michelle just showed you for all their manufacturings over in China. They have about 15 different facilities over there, and they're leveraging all the master planning and manufacturing capabilities. From a case study perspective, I want to talk about a few of the Mannino case studies. And Microsemi, who last year was acquired by Microchip, leverages the entire Microsoft F&O platform for all of their, all of their business process, order to cash, order to pay, as well as all the manufacturing. So they are using the platform for 1.8 billion of their revenue, as well as 31 employees on the platform itself. And as part of the acquisition, they're going to continue to use, Dynamics 365. So that's exciting. The next one is a company called Tinkata. I like to feature these guys because, they're a large manufacturing organization that has mixed mode operations. They've got process manufacturing as well as discrete, and they're really, they got multiple companies, so they're leveraging the consolidations, and they've got a pretty complex kind of planning process. Their main customers are like Boeing and some of the larger aerospace and defense companies, but they manufacture this pre-preg carbon fiber that goes into the manufacturing the skins of an aircraft. And then they also have some, parts that use that same material, for the aerospace industry. And then finally, I want to come back to the Azure case study for Microsoft. So once again, Microsoft's Azure business unit, they buy $6 billion worth of hardware, software, and services from both tier 1 as well as tier 2 suppliers. They have hundreds of users that are leveraging the platform. We've created a collaborative capability for the Microsoft team from a procurement standpoint to get information from their suppliers and then help make informed business decisions around what that build is going to look like for one of the new data centers. And so we continue to work with these guys right now. We're also working with them on how they kind of deprecate some of the assets within data centers, but it's a huge implementation, a lot of people involved. I know Chris earlier was talking about change management, huge change management, part of this project in terms of how we communicated out, how to leverage the system, the benefits of it, and really reaching out to all the suppliers associated with the implementation. So finally, why partner with Mannino? We've got great customer references. We've been implementing the Dynamics suite of products, really focused around F&O here for the last 17 years. And we've got great alignment with Microsoft, and our culture is extraordinary. And we have, love to share more information with you. And I appreciate your time today. Chris, back to you.
Great, thank you, Chris. Thank you for your time and your participation today. And Michelle, very nice overview. Thank you as well. So just a reminder to our audience here, to take advantage of our 1 free hour of consulting, make sure to go to our website, panorama-consulting.com, and get some information there. And also, please feel free to take down Laura Florence's contact information. Laura is our Director of Business Development, or has been on the client delivery side for a handful of years and switched over to sales. So it's always a good representation of what Panorama does and how they do it from Laura. We'll take a couple of quick questions here for Chris Moore. Can you please touch on the scalability of D365 for mid-sized to large organizations?
That's an excellent question. It does come up quite a bit. People are always concerned about taking their data or their systems or their hardware from being on-prem to the cloud, and one of the big concerns is scalability. But we have one of our customers, a company called Bell Fuse. They are a 3,000 person organization, and recently went live back on January 1st of this year, went live with about 1,000 users on Dynamics 365 F&O. They've got 2 manufacturing facilities over in China where they manufacture and distribute. They got a manufacturing facility over in Slovakia, and then throughout the US, they also distribute and are really doing like the order processing as well as the financial side. So they're leveraging the Dynamics 365 platform across the organization with 1,000 users on it. And Microsoft, the platform itself, added 250,000 active production users on the platform. So yeah, very scalable. Good question.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And then you had mentioned the IP development in the Microsoft App Store, numerous applications. What other development do you do for your customers? Any custom development unique per customer?
Yeah, we've got a very robust. First off, our R&D team, we have dedicated resources that support IP that Mannino has developed that we leverage as part of all of our implementation, whether it's high tech, life science, process manufacturing or discrete. More than happy to kind of really articulate the value of the IP. But from a development standpoint, we do have a dedicated development team, and so most of our customers, as we get into an implementation, the areas of development typically include, adding on kind of fields and different reporting metrics that Michelle showed you. But in addition, when it comes to like data conversion, integration to some of the existing legacy systems, modifications are typically what I call extensions, where I'm taking existing functionality and maybe streamlining it using some of the workflow capabilities, within the 365 platform. So that's how we support our customers as part of, development, within the platform.
Yeah, good explanation there. Thanks, Chris. And overall, again, Chris and Michelle, thank you very much for your time today. And to all of our attendees, appreciate you joining our webinar cast. Please reach out to Panorama for further questions and some contact with Laura Florence. Thank you all very much and have a great day.